All right, we'll call the meeting to order, and we're going to start with the roll call.
Ms. Bex, Ms. Harrell, Ms. Hetland,
Present.
Ms. Jones,
Present.
Mr. Miller is excused, Ms. Orcherton may be arriving later, Mr. Robinson, Ms. Salmon.
Here. Okay, next we're going to move to the approval of minutes of the previous meeting. Does anybody have any questions or comments about it? If not, I move that we approve the minutes as shown. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we've approved the minutes. Next, we're going to, additions to the agenda.
You might have to, we actually might have to.
Yeah.
Go right for the approving them, the minutes.
Oh, you're right, you're
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
There's no quorum, you're right. Well, okay.
Or move it to the end of the agenda if the other two are here by then.
Right, we'll do it again, okay. Okay, all right, you had an addition to the agenda?
That's correct. We do have one other grant presentation coming from Christina Carpio, Assistant Director of the Asian American Cultural Center. She'll be presenting on the 2019 Urbana Arts Grant for Asia Fest.
Okay. I'm sorry, what was her last name again?
Carpio, and that's
Carp-
spelled Carpio.
Okay. Thank you. And she'll be last? Okay. All right. Next, we're going to have some public input from Rob Crum of Folk and Rugs.
All right, so good afternoon, everybody.
Hi.
I prepared a letter that I addressed to Pat and Rachel, and
Okay.
copies are going around now, so maybe I'll wait for the letter to copies to get to everyone. And I don't want to read through this word for word, but I thought it'd be good to have this just for the written record. So I'll just start with saying, we did receive an award from the Public Arts Program, and we really appreciate that support. I'm coming here today, and I wrote this letter to talk as a way to generate some discussion about the way that grant recipients receive financial support from the arts program. So, as you know, the Folk and Roots Festival is a Tier 3 grant awardee, and so the terms for disbursement for the money, for the funding, is that the full grant amount will be distributed after work is completed. So that means we'll basically get the funding after the festival. And so I'd like to propose an idea to amend those terms of disbursement. From the perspective of the Folk and Roots Festival, all of our expenses are pretty much going into the festival. All right, and so the majority of our expenses, the biggest expense we have, is paying performers, and some of those performers get paid up front, half up front, or whatever the terms are. But we pay everybody the day they perform at the festival, and that money goes out and adds up quick. And then we have a lot of other pre-festival expenses, advertising. We print T-shirts and pay for publicity and advertising, space rental. I would say, the Folk and Roots Festival, it's not like we're running on day-to-day as far as the budget goes, but I'd say our budgets our bank account's not really fat either. So, it's not exactly a shoestring operation, but it's maybe more like hiking boot shoelaces instead. I don't know, but something a little more than shoestring. But so what I'd like to propose, and this basically kind of goes back to the previous year. Let's say a year ago, the festival got funding through two sources, and that's been combined for the funding that we have now. So one of the funding sources was directly from the city of Urbana, and Brandon has been involved in that. And that funding basically, we received that funding as when we could prove that we spent the money, basically. Okay, so what I'd like to propose is if you could consider a reimbursement upon expenditure kind of distribution, that would be very helpful to us. So, for example, 2 distributions could be like up to 50% of the funding before in advance or as those costs are incurred. There could be 2 payments or disbursements or 3. And I put that in the letter. Again, I don't really want to read word for word. So, I just kind of want to open this discussion, throw this out, and this is a way to generate some discussion. I know, my take on this is pretty limited. I'm kind of like the end user here. So, and I know there's a lot more involved, and so I know people will need input from everyone involved, and really maybe it's too late this year to make this happen, and so if that's the case, then consider this a recommendation maybe for next year, and that's about it.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
All right.
Did you want to discuss it at this point?
Yeah,
Well,
I have a question.
First of all,
too.
are there questions or comments for Rob?
Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to understand your proposal. So you're suggesting that instead of offering receipts after the event's done to get 100%, that you have the opportunity to submit receipts for 50%?
X% up to
Yeah.
you. I'd say, it could be 50%.
Oh, yeah, you're right. You had more than
whatever.
one.
Could
But-
be.
But your organization could still show receipts before
Oh, sure.
receiving it? You don't need
Yeah.
it truly up front?
Say again.
You don't need it truly up front?
No. It would basically be kind of reimbursement as the expenses are tallied.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean,
Go ahead.
that's not inconsistent with what our guidelines are, so long as it remains on a reimbursement basis.
Mhm.
But you're right, that's not the form of the current agreement.
Right. So.
I'd want to check with some of the other Tier 3 applicants and just get their thoughts on this. I mean, I think they all have opinions on this topic potentially, and so I think we'd
Yeah.
like to try to work something out. Whether it can occur this year or next year, I'm not certain of at this point.
And that's fine too. I get that.
Yeah, go ahead, Barb.
Are there certain legal requirements because this is a use of tax dollars or anything that go into the answer to his question?
It's on a, we'd like it to be on a reimbursement basis. So there's sort of increasing tiers of responsibility that we put on the applicant in the 3 tiers. So they have higher, well, I think in the lowest tier, you don't have to have any cash match. In the middle tier, you can have cash or in kind, and in this tier, you have to have a large amount of cash match. And the way the money is provided is different a little bit too. So this is the highest standard, but I think it probably isn't of consequence to the city if a reimbursement, part of the reimbursement's available sooner, so long as it's all on a reimbursement basis.
Mhm.
So that, just to jog everyone's memory, is consistent with the special event funding from the city of Urbana, the reimbursement basis. And this represents Tier 3, a larger sum of money than we have consistently given out in our festival grant category heretofore.
right.
And you'll recall that in our festival grant category, we actually gave all the money up front. And like all of it. So we decided that festivals do need that funding up front. So this has been sort of a shift that has come with the greater amount of money and the different concerns among just stewardship of funding at the city. But certainly I think we're in a position right now with this new grant structure to really be learning a lot in this first year and to go back and constantly be working to do it better,
Yeah,
so
and
I
that's
really
pretty much
appreciate
why
you.
Why I decided to
Yeah.
offer these comments. It's something I've been thinking about this. I mentioned it to Rachel right away when we received our grant award. I'd been thinking about it before then too, because kind of reading the guidelines. It's like, well, wait a minute, how's this going to work? Because really, as it stands right now, I appreciate getting the money, right? But what's happening if we wait until we get all the money after the festival, I would say that's really like seeding the 2020 festival, okay? So,
Sure.
and that's fine. That's the way it works out. That's fine, but that is kind of what's going on.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and we want these grants to work, you know, and we want them
Yeah.
to work for
Yeah.
people that are event planning.
Yeah.
And that event plan in ways that help make wonderful things happen in our city. So I think this is a great time to just reiterate to any folks listening and those of you who've joined us this evening, like, this kind of feedback is the kind of feedback that we would love to consistently hear about your experience with the grant program and ideas of what you would like to see in order for it to grow and continue to serve its purpose.
Practically speaking, are we talking about, this is a thing that we talk about and then you check out with whoever you need to check it out with, and then we just change it? Or do we have to, like, have a whole legal thing written up and it takes months and months to get done, or, like?
Yeah, the legal thing,
All of the
is the
above.
agreement itself, which we've
Okay.
already executed for
Right.
this cycle.
Right.
And so, you know, we want to be fair to all the applicants too, so that's why we want to touch base with the others. And it may not be sensible to change it this year, but for next year, you know, staff can just be ready to have those changes incorporated into the agreement. I think the way we set it up is just that the commission is just approving the
Right.
the award itself, but we could do a study session where we go over the agreements with you at some point if you'd like that, if you'd like to get to that level of detail. Otherwise, it'd just be something, you know, we'll incorporate this feedback and like Rachel would say, try to make the grant program work for everybody involved.
I think also this is connected to some of the, some of our discussions and our own visioning as a commission of what we wanted to do to kind of circle back to the Tier 3 process. I know that commissioners themselves had feedback on that process and kind of want to take a moment to just talk about it. So I could see a lot of value in a study session, both from grant recipients and from our commission, about what, if any, changes would you like to see in the next year's cycle. And one of the discussions that we've had over time has been moving the cycle up a little bit more. We are challenged as a staff to get checks processed in a timely way for grant recipients, and I'm sure everyone in the room could, like, maybe nod at this, like, I don't know. But for us, it really does make a difference to spread this out a little bit more. The way we have it now, we have like a deadline of mid-February, we jury in March, and April 1, you're supposed to be able to start. That's just a very constrained timeline. I serve on something called the Grantathon annually at the university, and I represent our grant program there, and it always shocks the other people who come from the Mental Health Board and from the Community Foundation that we have such a short turnaround time for all that processing to happen. So I think, you know, that can be couched in that conversation. So much more can happen, but it does mean that that conversation or any sort of, what did you call it? Study session. Any sort of study session that is to take place ought to take place before probably early fall, because we'd like to get all of this ready in order to do an earlier, potentially an earlier grant cycle, at least in terms of making the applications open and getting applications in and beginning that processing and that jurying time. Give us more time for that, even if the April 1 to April 1 deadline doesn't necessarily change, for instance.
So we'd need to talk about it either the next meeting or the one after.
I think so.
Do you see that being a special meeting, or do you just see it as incorporated with this?
I think we could do it at a regular meeting.
Okay.
I mean, we've been over the details of this before. I think it's just a matter of fine tuning based on the feedback. And thanks again, Rob, for sharing.
Yeah, okay.
All right, thank you all.
Appreciate your
Yeah,
Thank you.
Okay, next we're going to have this staff report from Rachel.
I have just a couple of announcements that maybe should have been made at the very beginning, but I'm just going to say them now. It's likely known that Stacy Robinson is, it has been announced previously, I should say, that Stacy Robinson will be leaving our commission on what he hopes will be a temporary basis. Stacy received the NAS Fellowship at Harvard University and is going to be there for 1 year teaching, which is super exciting for him. And we're really just delighted at that news. He's hoping somebody will keep his seat warm for a year and might want to give it back when he returns. But that is one vacancy that we have. We also have Jessica Schneider terming out of the commission, so that's a second vacancy. And Katie Harrell also recently announced that she would like to also leave the commission. So we will have 3 vacancies, which means that we are, I think, hoping, Katie, that you might join us next meeting as your last meeting. And I know Stacy's, I hope, planning to come today, and I believe is planning to join us in August for his last meeting before he leaves. But we are hopeful to get those vacancies filled quickly. And on that note, I just want to encourage anyone who is interested in joining the Arts and Culture Commission to come join us. We always look for people that have a passion for the arts, who maybe have experiences with thinking through and working out kinks and grant programs, folks who are really interested in cultural work or have specific cultural competency experiences. That's all very important to the work that we do. So I just encourage applications to come our way. Those applications can be found on the City of Urbana's commission vacancy webpage. And if you have any trouble finding them, please reach out to me directly at my email address, which is at the end of my staff report. I'm happy to send a fillable board application along to you. So that's that. I wanted to also take a moment to welcome some new staff. So at last meeting, I mentioned that we had been hiring a program specialist. This person will be working full-time, assisting both the Arts and Culture Program and Urbana's Market at the Square. So we were really pleased to be able to welcome Heather Ann Lehman. Heather Ann comes from a background of events management and theatrical events planning. She currently works also part-time at Parkland College Theater. We're excited to have her with us. She's actually already hit the ground running. She's done a lot of great work already for the Arts and Culture Program and the Market at the Square. She's been out at the Market. So I'm excited to have her hopefully come meet you, if not next month, then maybe the following meeting. But she'll be a new face for you to meet as well. I also want to note that this week we're conducting interviews for the Illinois Arts Council Summer Youth Intern position. So my hope is that we will have an announcement for that certainly by next month, but you'll probably see it floating around between now and next meeting. And we had a wide number of high schoolers apply. And I want to take a moment to recognize John. Do you mind standing for a second, John? So this is John G. John has been working with us, as you know, through the Community Learning Lab. I wanted to take a moment to acknowledge John because he is going to be leaving our his internship before our next meeting. So his last day is July 30th? And one of the things that John's been able to do is really assist a lot with marketing and events, Urbana's Downtown Get Down, just quite a lot with our social media and a lot of the organization that goes behind such a large summer festival series. So I just wanted to invite us all to give him a round of applause for
Absolutely.
his internship work. Then I'm going to move right along into the staff report. I'm going to begin by sharing a little information about City of Urbana's inaugural Poet Laureate, Will Rieger. So as you recall, the City of Urbana's Mayor's Office and the Arts and Culture Program announced that Will Rieger will be our first inaugural Poet Laureate. We're very, very excited that this was able to come together as a new program for the Arts and Culture Commission. Will was born and raised in St. Louis, Missouri. He obtained his PhD in history from the University of Illinois, and he lives in Champaign with his wife and 2 youngest children. He's actually one of the co-founders of the CU Poetry Group, and he's lent his energies towards projects such as the MTD Poetry, CU Haiku in the News Gazette, and Poets at the Post, the monthly open mic that takes place at our Iron Post in downtown Urbana. He teaches within the Department of History at both Illinois State University and Parkland, and he's read his poetry work at the Urbana Free Library, Boneyard Arts Festival, Imbibe Urbana's Love for All Poetry Crawl, Speak Cafe, Respect the Mic, and as part of an annual reading at Danville Correctional Center through the Education Justice Project. He has already begun his 1-year term, And Will was selected through a competitive application and interview process with a panel of experts. The Poet Laureate receives a $2,000 honorarium, as you know, funded by the City of Urbana's program. We were really excited about Will's proposal, and in part that became evident through some of the things that he would like to do. We've already been in lots of talks about how the arts and culture programs, existing events and programs, can really help kind of be intertwined with some of the ideas that he has. So one such thing that we're going to try out this upcoming year as part of the Murals on Glass cycle is we're going to do a Murals on Glass, Poetry on Glass combination, where we will actually pair poets with our downtown murals, and they will write a poem that speaks to that, that's inspired by that mural. The poems will be printed on the same adhesive vinyl and displayed underneath the placard for the Murals on Glass murals around downtown. So that's one thing we're really excited to spearhead. I know that Will is eager to do a listening session coming up here soon with lots of different poetry groups in the area. I know he wants to come to an upcoming Arts and Culture Commission meeting and speak to you all, so I hope to put him on the agenda for next month. He's also our featured Art Now person for next month, and we've had a lot going on. We went on television together on WCIA's morning show to talk a little bit about his goals for this first inaugural year, and he's even been willing to, deal with some of my quirky ideas for what he should do. Namely, I want to challenge every poet laureate to write a poem about Urbana, and I'm going to find an interesting way to display them every single year that we have a new poem about Urbana. But he does have a opening reception, and that's tomorrow evening from 5 to 6:30 at Analog Wine Library, one of our newer downtown businesses in Urbana. I hope that you all can come out. This will also include some comments from me and Mayor Marlin, as well as a short reading from Will, and then it will just include a general reception. So we hope to see a lot of folks out for that as well. Among some of the other things Will's hoping to do is do a lot of work with recommending acquisitions, suggestions for improving library collections in the area, both in schools and in our local library. I know he's interested in coordinating a youth poetry competition and visiting our area schools. I was delighted to already talk a little bit with Sarah about that earlier. So my hope is that he'll get those opportunities and that we can arrange lots for him to do. If you didn't know this, you can also request that the Poet Laureate come and be part of your events and programs. One of the first things Will's doing is actually a reading out at Allerton pretty soon, so I'll send out that information as well, and you'll see it kind of pop up. You will see very soon a Poet Laureate Facebook page, so a page just devoted to the City of Urbana's Poet Laureate, where he'll be posting things like poetry prompts or sharing news about what he's up to. And so that'll be kind of curated both by our program and by Will himself, so I'm excited to share that with you. That brings me to Urbana's Downtown Get Down. We have had 2 Downtown Get Downs so far this summer. The next one is July 27th. For anyone who does not know, the Arts and Culture Program is working in partnership with the Urbana Park District, 40 North Champaign County Arts Council, the Urbana Business Association, and the Urbana Free Library to sponsor the Downtown Get Down, a summer series that takes place on 4 Saturdays, May through August. It features live concerts, DJs, an artist street market, a kids zone with inflatables and games, and live art demos from visual and performing artists. We have seen roughly between 700 and 900 attendees at each one. In June, we did this event in conjunction with Jetty Rhodes Day and featured dance music therapy and Big Mo in the Fat Groove. The event was expanded to include a mini soccer game area provided by Soccer Planet and a brand new pop-up performance tent featuring over 10 additional live artists and performing groups, including saxophonist Ambient the Sage, indie artist Corduroy and Nick Gundy, Brazilian Zouk dance from Illini Zouk, dance demos from Urbana Dance Company, an electric guitarist Branson Rava, and a live painting from Matt Harsh and the members of the Common Mind Art Collective. So far, we've seen it feature over 50 individual local artists, over 35 unique community and maker groups, and over 50 area events held by downtown Urbana businesses. So we hope that this upcoming one will be no different. You may see some slight changes. We're aiming to create kind of a recreational area in a portion of the Busey parking lot that will have more of those kind of bikes and soccer and different things going on. Some of those recreational groups that were a little cramped on the end of the street are going to get a bigger space to work with. Here's some pictures just to show you some of the things that have been going on there. I want to give a shout out to Sarah Jones for being at our first one and representing the Arts and Culture Commission with an activity in the Maker Lab area. I also wanted to shout out to Stacy Robinson. I have had a picture, our other commissioner, who has had an exhibit up of Afrofuturist art and collab in downtown, and they've had openings in conjunction with the Downtown Get Down on both Downtown Get Down dates so far. Here's a picture of Namsu teaching, I think, Mayor Marlin's grandkids how to break boards in Taekwondo. And here's a picture of you, Rob, if he's still here. So we could see lots of different activities. As you may recall, we have a community corner that invites area nonprofits to have a free booth to share information about their programs and services, as long as there's some sort of interactive activity. Our Maker Lab is going to also have Maker Girl out with it this time around as a new group that's coming to join us. So there's a lot going on. There's Good Things Urbana is there and doing quite a bit as well. Here's our picture of Stacy and Kamal, who's a member of Dance Music Therapy. Kamal Grantham has only recently begun doing collage work, and that's his collage work behind him. So it's really exciting to see lots of new art exhibits in downtown Urbana. These are just some more pictures so you can kind of get a sense if you haven't been out yet. This is the stage in action. This was the day when the wind was working against us and managed to bust down 2 of the banners that were supposed to be on the stage, so there's only a banner on one side. That has since been repaired, thankfully. We've managed to evade the rain, but we have not evaded the wind both times. We are still, of course, looking for volunteers. Our interns, John and Leona, have been doing just amazing work with getting things put up and torn down by the end. We had a grand number of volunteers this past time. It was really lovely, and we took a giant staff photo that I have not posted yet, but it'll showcase kind of the amount of people that we had out. I'd love to see our commissioners, if you're willing to come even volunteer at the info booth or be involved with an activity or something that you might like to do. And that brings me to our next initiative. You may recall a couple of years back, Urbana Love hosted summer movie nights in downtown Urbana, and they were held in the Busey lot. We actually funded, through our arts grant, the creation of the Urbana Love movie screen that's on the side of Analog Wine Bar. Mm-hmm. We got together with staff of the Urbana Free Library, Matt Cho of Broadway Food Hall, and Tom Sheehan and Matt Harsh from 25 O'Clock Brewing Company, and organized summer movie nights to kind of come back again as a collaboration between those 4 groups. The Urbana Free Library was excited to partner in particular because you may know that they are newly promoting Canopy, which is a streaming service for. It's basically like the Netflix for library card owners, and it's fantastic. Has lots of really wonderful independent documentary and art house films on it. We were really excited to select movies from there. Through their partnership, we're able to screen them publicly. And we have 2 sets of films. So one set is indoors at Broadway Food Hall, and the other set is outdoors in the Boneyard Creek Crossing next to 25 O'Clock Brewing Company. 25 O'Clock's organizing some of the setup and projection, and is also working with some artists for live music at these events. And I'm working largely with that side of things. The Broadway Food Hall is doing indoor films for indoor cats, so they're all cat themed. And this upcoming one, the day after tomorrow, is features a very campy documentary about show cats, and Hospice Hearts will actually be at Broadway Food Hall with adoptable cats. So these are other events that are going on throughout the summer. Our first one that we did in Boneyard Creek Crossing was Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. That movie's being, not being remade. They're doing a new adventure with the same actors that's coming out this year, or next year, so we were excited to screen that one. And our next one on July 17th is Hearts Beat Loud. And this is actually a film that's really heartfelt film, a coming-of-age type story about a dad and a daughter and the experience of her going off to college and him letting go. And it also features a lot of wonderful music, so we chose it because it's also a music film. We hope to have a live band out there and some food trucks, and would love to see commissioners out, or if you're interested in volunteering, we'd love to have you. The one after that will be in Bonnier Creek Crossing is Loving Vincent, which, if you haven't heard of it yet, was a 2017 film made as animation of lots of different paintings. So I think over something like 30,000 paintings were animated to make the first ever animation film made entirely out of paintings. So as far as the arts and culture program is concerned, it's an exciting one to show. And then lastly, we're in conversations about adding a film in September, and it would be a screening of the 1920s film Nosferatu, and it would be hopefully set to a symphony orchestra that may or may not be mentioned. That is exploring possibilities with me about whether it's possible for them to do live music. So I'm very excited about what may come together around that, because that'll be a unique experience. I gave you the full list of dates and times. Flyers have been going around for that. If you want more information, please feel free to reach out to me. Just quick mention, arts grants, obviously they're well underway. Again, it's really wonderful the more feedback we hear about this process for folks. I wanted to highlight some of the projects that are currently underway this summer. So Dance Music Therapy Music Festivals, the Arts at Play from Coop Adventure Play. You're going to hear a little bit from Coop later. The Great Theater Project of 2019, which was formerly called Experimental Theater Performance Laboratory for young theater practitioners. This one's also going to be featured at the Downtown Get Down, so some of the teens participating will actually be doing live theater at the Get Down. And Community Puppet and Mosaic Making. We have a number of upcoming downtown festivals, obviously CU Jazz Festival, CU Black and African Arts, Sweet Corn, Pygmalion, Heartland Maker Fest, and CU Folk and Roots. So please keep an eye out for all those lovely events. I mentioned earlier that Will Rieger, our Poet Laureate, is our next feature of Art Now. One of his projects is also to initiate a Poets on a Park Bench little TV series for UPTV, where we will feature different poets, where he introduces them on the bench, then they read some of their work. So you'll also see that coming forth soon. Artist of the Corridor continues to exhibit a linoleum and ink throughout the rest of the summer. I just want to particularly highlight in your report a save the date, and that's for August 15th, 12 to 1 p.m. at the Urbana Free Library. This will feature a student panel of the students that worked with local artist Lisa Kessler to create these linoleum block prints, and they'll be talking about the experience and their own dreams for their arts community. Here's some pictures from our opening reception. Thank you to everyone who made it out. Quick mention of Art at the Market. So these are our second Saturday Farmers Market concerts. We featured most recently in June John Offit Trio and Sierra Murphy with a Nature Sun Catchers Make and Take Art activity. Our next one will feature Michael Moxie with a juggling workshop and demo, and the Young and the Fretless performing Appalachian Mountain and Midwestern tunes. Our Young Artist Studio series, real quick, National Farmers Market Week is also August 10th. That'll be a great day to come to the farmers market. We have lots of arts and crafts activities going on, a whole corridor down Walnut Street, and it's a great opportunity to volunteer too if you're looking for a fun way to get involved with the arts program. You can lead activities, you can dress up as a vegetable probably. I don't know. Something along those lines. I'm sure
Barb's
will
got
be
a question.
What do you call that font?
This font, actually, what I call it is the National Farmers Market Week actually has a page where they create branding each and every National Farmers Market Week.
Oh,
so I got
okay.
it from them.
Oh, okay. It's really
And it's
clever.
actually encouraged that cities use this branding and such when they're organizing events.
Cute.
So I think it was made by an artist. I don't know their name. Moving along to Young Artist Studio, you're actually going to hear from Laurel Novelette today, who's here with us to give a grant report, but they also recently gave a Young Artist Studio workshop featuring do-it-yourself masks and costumes. I did not yet upload the lovely photos from this event, but I will soon. And then I'm really excited to report that we will have our first non-visual art Young Artist Studio coming up, because I'm hoping that this also expands to include lots of arts sectors. And this one will feature Kevin Taget of the Dose Foundation doing theater games for young kids at that one, and that's on July 21st. Urbana Sculpture Project is not actually in a current cycle. You'll note that we typically have murals on glass one year, Urbana Sculpture Project another. We installed 2 sculptures back in October-ish time, September and October, I believe. And however, I serve on that jury, and we recently had that national call happen again. Public Art League had their jury, and we're seeking sponsors. And I'm delighted to report that the MCDJ, Mike and Connie Hosier, David and Janet Peshkin, have pledged to have to sponsor a new sculpture as part of the Urbana Sculpture Project. And that is Tumble Arch by Jim Galucci.
Oh, nice.
Out of Greensboro, North Carolina. We have 2 spots that we're measuring, testing, thinking about right now. So I will have another announcement for you at the next meeting of where exactly this will be installed. We will have ribbon cutting and reception for this as well when Jim Galucci comes to town for the installation. But I'm excited that we'll have a new sculpture in our downtown area. Of course, there are quite a number of beautiful sculptures that are still looking for sponsors from the jury's recommendations. So I'm happy to send along, if you haven't received it, the Public Art League's unveiling PowerPoint presentation, where folks can look over all of the available sculptures. And if you know anyone who would like to sponsor a sculpture in our area, of course, we're always looking for that. And I can give them more information with interest. We typically have them on a rental basis for about 2 years. And then there's always the opportunity too for the community to organize or a sponsor to come through and say they want it permanently placed in Urbana and purchase it so that it can be here. Just on that note, Murals on Glass, we'll be very soon releasing the open call for submissions. So anyone who can take a digital image of your artwork can apply for Murals on Glass. Again, this is adhesive vinyl printing of digital images that go on downtown, usually municipal buildings. The selected building this year is Cunningham Township's front windows. I also wanted to mention, just as a follow-up, we will also be releasing the Utility Box Pilot Program application at the same time. So folks can actually apply to be considered for both on one application. And can indicate in the application if they have preference for one or the other, et cetera.
Rachel, is that more than one image for the window or just one?
Usually people can submit multiple.
No, I meant more, are you going to consider having more than one in the windows, or is it just going to be one?
For the windows, it'll just be one. It'll be
Okay.
Cunningham Township. Now, that
Okay.
being said, on occasion, the jury will make recommendations based on the framing of the artwork. So for instance, if it would make sense to do, like, there are 4 front windows on
Right.
Cunningham Township, if it makes sense to do 4, maybe we can do 4, but typically it's just one that's kind of printed so that it fits within the space.
Right, I
And
just
that
asked
can
because of
sometimes
this-
include cropping.
Yeah,
and
the
that
Civic
sort of thing.
Center, we did do several, so, okay.
That's right. And then I just wanted to mention this new mural because I just thought it was so wonderful that our Park District and Jetty Roads Day organizers came together last Jetty Roads Day to create this mural with a collaboration, again, with Lisa Kessler, our local artist. The mural unveiling took place as part of Jetty Roads Day and depicted a portrait of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. This is particularly wonderful. As you might recall, and this is before my time as the Arts and Culture coordinator, we also requested the ability to depict the likeness of Martin Luther King Jr. as part of the King Park sculpture, and were denied.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
And that's also because, you know, we were commissioning an artist, but because it was children and because it was made as a collaborative activity, I think they were excited to allow that to happen this time around. So that's really exciting. Also installed in King Park. So now King Park has our beautiful Byways to Equality sculpture and now has this new mural. So just to show you some pictures, this is the ribbon cutting that happened at Jetty Roads Day. This was earlier in the day during the Downtown Get Down Day last month. And then we also have some pictures of Lisa in front of the mural. And this is, on the picture on the right is really how it looks. So it's basically been, I think, zip tied onto the fence. And because we've worked with a local artist in this instance, Lisa has also really, devoted herself to keeping, tabs on it, making sure that the sculptures or the mural's doing quite well into the future. But it has been preserved, and there's been a lot done to make it last a long time on the part of the staff of the Park District. So I just wanted to give a shout out, round of applause to the Park District and the Jetty Roads Day Planning Committee for just a wonderful collaborative arts project that now is in the city of Urbana. Woo woo. And lastly, just wanted to reiterate, we're always looking for volunteers. I also today attended the Welcoming Collaborative meeting, which is a coalition of folks that are working around Welcoming Week. So next month I'll probably give you some more details about our Belongings exhibit, which we did last year, but what we'll continue to do as an exhibit that highlights stories of local immigrants. We're also going to do an open scene story slam featuring some of the stories from folks that submitted them. So that would be local immigrants from our community that want to tell a story through an artifact about their own experiences with immigration or their own journey to come to the United States. So that I will tell you a little bit more about, but the Welcoming Committee is also going to have their annual Welcoming Awards ceremony at the Urbana Free Library September 21st. And I just want you to save the date for that, because that will be another, not only the opening reception of our exhibit that will be here in City Hall at the Urbana Free Library, and newly at Spurlock Museum, we were able to expand and include a partnership with Spurlock, where there will actually be a physical display of some of the artifacts this time around. That's just a new and exciting development in terms of partnerships around that project, and I am excited to continue to expand that every year and just kind of grow both in our awareness of lots of the experiences of local immigrants, but the community around that exhibit. So I'll be speaking at the Welcoming Awards about the exhibit itself. Usually there's quite a number of people that speak at that event, and of course they're taking nominations of people that should receive an award. There's a number of categories, so I'm happy to also repost that onto our social media, and I'll share it out to the commissioners. So if you think of someone, be sure to nominate them. And that's it.
At what time, do you know?
At what time? Ooh, I don't. I have it written down right
You'll
over
send
there.
it to us.
Yeah.
I'll tell you before you leave.
Okay, thank you, Rachel.
Thank you. Any questions?
Okay, next we'll have the grant presentations. We're going to start with Kelsey Langley of the Coop Adventure Play.
Good afternoon. I am presenting
Hi.
on last summer's initiative.
Oh, is her mic on?
You might need to turn the mic on. I sometimes I don't have it.
Oh, just push.
You might be able to public hear your words too.
I think it's on.
Want to say something? Check, check, check.
I'm a light talker, sorry. So I'm Kelsey from Coop Adventure Play, presenting on last summer's initiative for neighborhood pop-up play days.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, there you go.
There it is.
Is that better? Okay.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Clear. Thank you.
So, being from Coop Adventure Play, you're going to hear me say the word play a lot in this presentation. When I was writing this grant application, I just kept thinking of how closely play is related with the arts, and that what the kids are doing is freely chosen and personally directed and intrinsically motivated, and just how close that is to the artistic process. And how much play kind of equals the flow of an artist, and how children finding out what's important to them and what they're interested in, and having an opportunity to explore exactly that in their neighborhood was a beautiful thing, and it definitely was. I'm excited to talk to you about it. We loaded up a lot of ordinary materials like cardboard boxes and fabric and paint and a lot of different things. Pretty ordinary things, but to each child it was permission to explore and to play and to try something new. And we took it to their neighborhoods, so neighborhood parks. We were in downtown Urbana, Boneyard Creek, Urbana Free Library, 13 different locations throughout Urbana, meeting children where they are and bringing these opportunities to them. For us, when we talk about play, play really is where children make sense of the world around them, and so play often can sound trivial, but it's so meaningful and so impactful for children, and it just made us really happy to have your support to be able to bring this to them. Children learn and develop through play. They learn to express themselves and have ideas, and then the ability to execute those ideas and to process complex emotions and experiences, which we helped them process those things through these different events, and I'll tell you a couple stories as we go through. And we really created a safe place to try new things for these kids. It was really beautiful.
Can you move the mic a little bit closer again? Thank you.
And I just wanted to say that a community connected to play and the arts is a community serving its citizens well. And at Coop Adventure Play, we're just really thankful to have had this opportunity. So thank you for funding our project last year. We went through, like I mentioned, lots of different neighborhoods, lots of different areas, bringing these materials and inviting parents to let children play freely, let them try some new things, and let them lead the way, most of all. Let their inner artist come out. We saw lots of small and detailed creations, whether they were telephone connections through cardboard boxes or whether they were large, extravagant, multi-box homes. We saw children really dig deep and create a lot of fun things. We saw children exploring their identities, trying on otherness, dressing up and being silly, and really letting loose in their neighborhood with their friends, all while meeting new people and making other friends. We saw a lot of neighborhood connections happening, people who didn't know each other, and now they did know each other because they played in their park together. We had some people who followed us from event to event, and some people who we only saw once in their neighborhood, and that's the only time we met them. Play can be deeply therapeutic, and so there were several times where children shared with us. We might have not even known their names, but they shared with us some really complex things happening either in their home life or hard things that they were going through. And it was really great to be there to offer them this safe place to explore themselves, but to also share themselves with us, and for us to be adults who cared and were listening and being there for them. We had kids design businesses. It might be hard to tell from a large, faraway shot like this, but there is a very extravagant taco shop nestled inside the center of that cardboard collage back there. So kids having really big ideas and the means to make those ideas come to life. And a lot of hungry people willing to eat cardboard tacos. We went into a lot of different neighborhoods all around Urbana, and the diversity was great. The community response was great, and we really felt like we were making connections between the neighbors. Parents would kind of step back and chat and get to know each other, and kids would interact, and some people didn't realize that they lived that close to each other. Some of our pop-ups brought people from international housing developments. Some pop-ups brought people from out of town because they heard about it and they wanted to see what was happening in Urbana that looked like so much fun. We popped up on Main Street. You might see some similar faces if you're looking closely. We had people who followed us, but you can see that black pipe got a lot of use as communication between different homes or businesses or and we were on Main Street, we were at Boneyard Creek, we were at Urbana Free Library, and we were at a lot of different parks throughout the community. There's that pipe again. We saw people just exploring new ideas and making new friends and trying new things and using these materials and fully taking ownership of them in the process. And we were just really happy to get to meet the community in that way. And I just wanted to say one final thank you for funding this project. We met at a minimum 650 people in Urbana and saw a lot of happy and smiling faces. So we're really thrilled to have been able to do this project. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Terrific project. Anybody have any questions or comments? Okay, thanks very much.
Okay,
Let's give
thank you.
Want to give her a round? Okay, next we're going to have Laurel Noblette and Sean Tierney talking about their project Let It Go.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Yep.
Hi.
Thank you all for the support, and to the Arts Council and the Public Arts Commission for supporting our project and letting us let things go and see where they go. So we do have a PowerPoint presentation, but we also brought one of the finished products of our project, which is a booklet, which might actually serve better to there's a lot of overlap between the two, so I just wanted to check in. Would you rather see the PowerPoint presentation or the product, which is the book, which
I think it might be easier for you to do the PowerPoint.
Yeah.
And I think I included the booklet in your final report that you received. So I'm also happy to send it out separately to our commission.
Okay.
Because it's beautiful.
So yeah, so some of the photos we have here are also in that booklet. So this is kind of a condensed version of that. I'm actually not sure.
At the top. Keep going. You got it.
Okay. Okay, and then so so our project was titled, or is titled, Let It Go. Basically, we compiled a multimedia time-based performance piece and documented that process within with a photo book. Every day over the course of 1 month, we examined and chose personal possessions in an ascending order. So on day 1, we chose 1 item. On day 2, we chose 2, 3, 4, 5, and then on day 30, we had 30 items. So, so basically, this was kind of a photo documentation and then kind of a journal of the process. Each of these things on each day was assembled into ephemeral sculptures and photographed before relinquishing possession over them. We also limited ourselves by focusing on one destination for each day and gathering items that would be appropriate for each organization that we were donating the items to. So the kind of main goal of this project was to create a resource map. So we would kind of map out the journey of our things from, starting with us and then going to an organization, and in an attempt to highlight the work of different organizations in town, but focusing primarily on organizations that are already involved in trying to create a shared resource economy, organizations that are doing community collaborative art projects. There were a few exceptions where we ourselves did like a from the ground up creative project, which I will point out when we get through. So the pictures here are just some of our. It's just kind of giving you what's the word I'm looking for? It's a little a taste of how much stuff we have, and how much we have to let go. Another part of this project is kind of examining the stuff in and of itself. So like where does stuff come from? Why do we hold on to it? What kinds of stories accompany those things? And it's in it's part map and then part kind of a mental emotional like processing of why do I see this as a thing that I possess? Why don't I orient myself towards things to be shared? And the reason that we want to challenge people to think and orient themselves in this way to stuff is with a environmental and ecological inclusiveness in mind. You know, taking, oh, did that just get loud? Taking, okay, thank you, okay. Taking into account that we, you know, maybe are needing to shift some of our a system of mass production where we're producing on with finite resources, and so so yeah, so this is a before photo kind of showing our stuff. This was actually the cover of the book that we made. This is the image. The text isn't on here, but this is the image that we used for the cover of our book. Oh, sorry, one thing that I forgot to say is this is also, you know, for and as artists, I think there's maybe, I mean, maybe not more or less so, but like a challenge with accumulating supply, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Materials and supplies. So, you know, like I tend towards fiber arts, for instance. So I have like just stacks of paper, bins of yarn and fabric, and so on. Sean's
And I collect much larger things, so it just piles up. Kind of like this. but-
And so, yeah, so this is a way to ask ourselves, how, you know, how can we share this? How can we work to support, at least locally, a kind of economy where things are, where resources, where materials are shared, where, you know, there might be libraries for tools or materials, and those things already exist, so there's already the framework there. Just how can we strengthen that already, that economy that's already in place? So, you know, so this is our day one project. We actually found a bench on the side of the road that was in disrepair. We repaired it with some wood that we happened to have lying around, and then we positioned it. We were inspired by our neighbor who lived across the street, who has a bench for the bus stop, who has an itty-bitty library. So we were like, okay, we're going to work towards that. Here's the first project, which is a bench. So this is just, you can't see the bus stop. It's just on the other side of the easement in front of this, but this is actually, so now, you know, we get to look out our window every day and see people who are making use of this privately provided bus stop, I guess you would say. Then for day two, we had, we took our typewriter, we set it outside of Art Coop in Lincoln Square, we put a stack of paper, and for a month we just let people go wild. And so we actually have a booklet of poems, stories, some goofy things, just kind of a random assortment of spontaneous writing from the community. This is just a, you know, different, kind of random different days. We took some things to some of our books to prisoners. We took some child care, I guess you could say, items to Sistering CU. We made a donation to the early intervention. I forget what the name, but it's basically it's a lending library for equipment in the early intervention system. A crib that went to 3 spinners, in addition to some other kind of newborn items that we donated. And then with each page of this booklet also is information about that organization. So what the organization's mission is, what items they look for on a regular basis, or a website that, well, actually we're still working on the website and the hyperlinks, but because some of these organizations frequently like re-update lists of needs, so which was actually one of the challenges of this project. Here is a kind of nicely folded cube of, or rectangle of, or what would you call that shape? I guess it's not rectangle, it's 3D, but pile of clothing, which went to Connections. That was another one of our challenges, is that a lot of things went to Connections, which unfortunately closed. This was the poster from our So one thing that we did, we hosted 2 workshops at Common Ground Food Co-op, where we came across some materials and we thought, let's turn these into a free public workshop where people can help us take materials that we have and turn it into something usable for an organization that has expressed a need. So for one of the workshops, we did a DIY cloth pad making workshop. So we had people make reusable cloth pads for the Urbana, I forgot what organization that was for.
The community closet
oh,
at
yeah, it's right
Urbana
here.
Middle School.
Yes, the Urbana Middle School Community Closet. And then we had another workshop a week later where we took some of our paper goods and we made handmade cards for incarcerated moms for Mother's Day. We had about 9 people in attendance for those workshops. Here are some photos of the workshop. This is from the DIY cloth pad workshop. Here is the handmade cards workshop and some of the cards that were made at the bottom. And then we also participated on a couple of the days in already established community arts events. So projects where other people in the community hosted an event, and we brought some item to either be shared at that event. So like, we participated in this community storytelling workshop, and we brought a bunch of tea bags for the participants of that workshop to enjoy. And then for the UIC IUTA, there was a collaborative arts event / fundraiser for, do you remember what the fundraiser was for?
It was for the first migrant caravan to the U.S.-Mexico border to raise money for migration relief efforts.
So we actually conducted an interview with one of the organizers of that event, and actually for that event, this might be a cop-out, but we donated money because that seemed, we had, for day 10, we donated $10. That was the ask, and so that's what we provided. But it felt right because it was also a collaborative arts project. Here are some wish lists from local organizations that we were working on that made it into the book, and that were part of our process. So we made a homeless youth care kit for the Up Center. We just happened to have a lot of those items lying around, so we made a backpack full of these items. We donated some of these items that we had to the Crisis Nursery. Here are some days, or some things that didn't make it into the book. They were kind of day 31 and 32. I just threw this in for fun, but one is the seed swap at the co-op. We donated some seeds, but that day didn't actually make it into the book, and we donated like 250 seeds, so, go figure. And then we also, we had a bunch of like metal tins, and we had sent some, we did like a day where we did a cookie making workshop for activists in town, where some local activists that we know, we just, baked a bunch of cookies and then tried to send it just to say like, thank you for what you do for our community. Here's the budget. I don't know if that's worth going over here. I just included it. And then that's the end of the slideshow. I'm not sure that if I'm forgetting anything, if there's anything. I just did all the talking. I'm so sorry. You can chime in now.
You did fine.
Yeah.
Anybody have questions, comments? Go ahead.
Quick comment. I'm delighted at this project. I think a mapping of the shared economy in Urbana is just a really phenomenal project. I was in communication with 60 Inches from Center, which is a magazine based out of Chicago. It's an arts magazine. You might recall, commissioners, that we had a grant project from 2018, if I'm not mistaken, Beyond Alternatives, which was a conference that happened, and Tempest Hazel, which is who was at the time the editor of 60 Inches from Center, which oftentimes gets shorthanded to 60, came down and gave a talk about wanting to highlight more of our Central Illinois artists artists. So I pitched a story to them about the Let It Go project because their magazine really works to combine storytelling about fine art and the art scene and social justice work. So I was really excited to kind of introduce them to the idea of the Let It Go project. So there will be a feature of Let It Go in that Chicago Arts magazine. So we're really excited about that. And we recently were also able to feature these two on Art Now. So you'll learn a little bit more about this project in depth in that 15-minute episode that will air after the Poet Laureate one next month. But I just wanted to say thank you, and I think this project too is a great meditation for all of us to think about ways that we can participate in more of a shared economy and how many rich resources there actually are in this community, and it's not just like our thrift stores or these sorts of spaces, but that there are organizations that are constantly asking for different kinds of donations in a kind of curated effort, and it's just unique to see that all pulled together in one place for us to think about.
Really quickly, I just wanted to say one of our days was the Coop people, so you might have actually, if you're still here, they're not here, but okay, never mind, so sorry.
Quick question.
And kind of related to that, I just wanted to note, one of the things that I find really, I'm smitten over about our art scene is how interconnected, of course, we all are. My joke about Urbana is there's 2 degrees of separation in Urbana and 6 everywhere else. But I know that, Coop has worked with Urbana First Fridays, and Coop has been donated to by the Let It Go project, and you guys have come and done your work in all kinds of different places. There's just such interconnectedness, even among the presenters today, of how folks in our art scene are working together, and I think that's what really makes it strong. So I'm really excited to see those familiar things in the reports that you guys turn in.
I was just curious about the booklets. Would they be available anywhere, or?
Oh, yes. They will be published for free download once we just work out a couple of kinks in the
Okay, well, let us know, and we can also mention it here.
I have a quick comment. Just to share, this sort of effort of a shared resource is something that I've been really interested in recently. So I've been looking into, lending libraries and things like that, because you think about all the stuff that all of us have in our homes and what goes unused, and thinking a lot about what's the challenge with those sorts of sharing. And it tends to kind of be the funnel back to when I need it again, right? Because you give it away, and then what if you need it again? So people hold on to these things. So I'm just curious, have there been any efforts locally that you know of where people are talking seriously about creating a tool lending library? And I'm just curious if you can share any information that you know about that.
If you want to share I know that's your dream of a tool lending library in particular, so.
Shared dream.
Oh, yeah. Well, I would love to see a tool lending library in this area. That's something that Laurel and I were talking about last year when we were thinking about applying for this grant and such. But it seems like it definitely would have to be a large collaborative effort. I don't know of anything personally that's in the works, but I'm very interested in that possibility. Bike Fab is a small bike repair operation I'm doing from home, and I'm been also doing some workshops, teaching people about bikes. They can come and fix their own bike sometimes. I'm also accepting trades and other non-traditional types of exchanges as well too. So do you mind if I chime in? Because what you said about Bike Fab, so there's the Bike Project, which is as specific to bikes tool lending library in a sense. You do pay a membership, which is a sensible structure for the maintenance of that sort of project, I think. But they have a membership-based project where you can go and use their tools to fix their bikes, and they also have some bikes that you can take parts of, so they're kind of a library of such, but very particular to that, to bikes. There, as mentioned in our book, there's also the Costume Closet, which is a tiny little operation also in the basement of the IMC. I heard, maybe there was some mention, I don't want to give too much away in case the people that are involved in this organization are like, why are you saying this? But there was some talk of a kind of like larger tool lending library at one of, and I'll just say in one of Urbana's beautiful institutions. They were talking about using some of their space to hold a tool library, but I don't know where that project is. And I know the Urbana Free Library, whoa, sorry, it's late. The Urbana Free Library also has musical instruments, I think 3D printer, an assortment.
Toys and all kinds of
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
shared resources that way.
Right.
So those are things that come to mind, but those are the things that come to mind.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Very grateful. Thanks.
Okay, next we're going to hear from Kristen Walters of Imbibe Urbana about Urbana First Fridays. Hi.
Hi.
Oh,
All right.
No, I have one too. I didn't think. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, everybody's got one.
you guys ready?
We're ready.
Great. All right. So, I want to thank you first for yeah.
Full screen?
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm going to
Yay.
pop out of it anyway to play a video, so that's all right. So thank you for funding Urbana First Fridays for the 2018 grant, and also the year before that, the 2017 grant cycle, and also thank you to the city for supporting it as well. So who doesn't know about First Fridays, or who hasn't been to one? Okay,
all
okay.
been to it, yeah.
All right, well, I know that was like a real question. I really I just wanted to be like, how much do I need to explain? But so, like, we started First Fridays with the goal of creating a culturally vibrant and commercially viable town. So we wanted to really promote those two values and also how those things work together. So there are a lot of efforts going on, wonderful efforts going on in economic development at the time we started this in September 2016, and then there was a lot of great arts programming, but there was kind of like an opportunity to bring those kinds of things together and more frequently than was already happening. And so I, myself and my creative partner Annie started Urbana First Fridays as a way to kind of help coordinate efforts between local business owners and also artists so that they could kind of bring their audiences and their customers all together on one night so that everybody can kind of check everybody else's stuff out in order to bring everybody downtown. I think we focused on the downtown area obviously because of the development that was going on down there and the small businesses, but also in terms of community development and creating kind of like an ethos of our community is like there's historical significance there's economic significance, cultural significance, and just having a central meeting space for a town is really helpful. And given the transitory nature, I would say, of just Champaign-Urbana and the university, I think that Champaign and Urbana really, they're doing a great job, but it's like very important to continually promote the narrative and the values that we have because there's new people coming in to the university all the time. And I think as I came to this town from, Chicago, and it took me 2 years to like come to downtown Urbana, and I was 2 miles away. Yeah, and so I didn't want that to be the case for other people because I fell in love with it, and I said I want other people to be here too. This is actually from 2017, but it gives you a good idea, this video gives you a good idea of what it's like. Thank you all for having come before. It's a short video. This video actually, thankfully, was taken on one of like our biggest evenings, where we had an arts market, we had a live claw show. I think you guys have heard from them already, the Champaign Ladies Amateur Wrestling. So this is, hopefully it will play. I don't know how slow the computers are.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised. I was like, right as I got on, I was like, I don't know if the video is going to play. So I'll just fast forward. Yeah. I should have just. Yeah, I know. Well, anyway, so some of the things that we focused on in particular were doing some arts markets. The Mistletoe Market was the holiday market, and that was really successful. And we also did a couple other ones like Makers on Main and the Revelry Market. The one thing that were some of our principles with Urbana First Fridays that I just think is like interesting to note, because you guys are the Arts Council, is just that we feel like I wanted to be really strategic about how to support artists financially, and I think that's something that you all do too, and you do well. And so some of the principles that like I had was making sure that some of the partners who are bars or other institutions that are actually like making money like on that night, getting money, getting food and wine sales, that they didn't look at, they were very excited about First Fridays. They were like, yay, artists are going to come down. It's essentially free entertainment because of trading for exposure of the artists. And I was like, you know what, that's not how you should look at this. And I don't want, if that's going to be the attitude, I don't want that. It was something that was like, have a maker fair every First Friday. And I'm like, that's not, given the audience that we have, I know that people aren't going to be spending that much money every single time. It's not worth it to an artist to do that. It's not a good idea. They're not going to make enough money. And I talked to enough of them to understand how much they make at certain markets. And so it was very much very strategic about making artists money and building spaces where it's yes, you can make money here at this time, or no, you should not, because you're going to be exploited and you're going to be making other people money. That was one of our really fundamental principles that we worked on, and so that's why we paid a lot of attention to the markets, and they were really successful, and so I'm really that's one of the things I'm really proud about, and I thought that you guys would also be excited to hear, because your support of First Fridays helped other turned that money into Mistletoe Market. We had I think $18,000 in sales in 4 hours, and it's worthwhile for a vendor to do that. They can cover everything. So I hope I hope you see that as a good investment of your money. Oh. So, yeah. So that was that. And that's not sorry. I'm sorry. So that is what it looks like. And right now, Madeline, who you might know from Claw, and then Kelsey, who you just saw from Coop, they've been the ones who have been running the show for the past year. So they've been doing a great job. Yeah, and these are just a couple other pictures of what happened in their time. They did a Veg Fest. They did a great job continuing kind of our goals of like curating occasions for people to participate and to be inspired, like our Love for All Poetry Crawl and our Women of Urbana fashion show, and theming things pretty tight to help with marketing. And yeah. So, are there any questions?
Questions, comments? Great.
Okay. Thank you all so much. We really appreciate it.
Okay. And our next and final grant presentation is going to be from Christina Carpio on the Asia Fest. Thank you for being patient.
That's a little sneak peek. Hi, everyone. Thank you guys for having me here. My name is Christina Carpio. I'm an assistant director at the Asian American Cultural Center. I'm here to present to you our annual festival, Asia Fest, which celebrates Asian Pacific Islander Desi American Heritage Month. You may know it typically is celebrated in May, but on college campuses we celebrate it in April because everybody leaves. So we had it on April 28th this year, and it was fantastic. We're seeing an increased number of participation and engagement from our community members, and it's been a fantastic, wonderful experience having to plan this from year to year and get to see its growth. And so really what the mission of the Asian American Cultural Center is to promote cross-cultural understanding of both Asian and Asian American students' experiences. And we provide educational and cultural support for Asians and Asian Americans on our campus, but also within our community. We do a lot of work within the Champaign County, educating students about Asian and Asian American culture. We do a really great outreach program that teaches elementary school kids about Lunar New Year, where we provide resources for teachers and educators to be able to, give them that education here in Champaign-Urbana without having to go to like China or India. So we opened our doors in the fall of 2005, and we've been doing programming within the campus, but also within the community as well. For our volunteers regarding Asia Fest this year, we were able to pull this off with 5 full-time staff, 10 student interns, about 30 student volunteers, and about 3 community volunteers. So we really started planning last fall. So all in total, we probably spent about 700 hours planning the event. And this really was to bring together both the campus and the greater Champaign community together to learn more about Asian American culture, but to share our culture with everybody else. So the community outreach was really helpful. When I started working with the Urbana Arts Grant, I really thought about how can we use these funds that were given to us to get put back into the community. Champaign Moms is a wonderful resource that really helped us reach out to families and community members who don't really interact with the campus that much. And so we also did targeted Facebook promotions, and then also definitely utilize our campus partners as well. this year we had roughly around like 800, 900 attendees who came to Asia Fest. So again, consistently growing throughout the years that I've started planning, and I think now we're at our 7th Asia Fest. So we've been doing this for a number of years, but you know, just changing things, adding things, doing more outreach within the South Asian communities, and then also trying to incorporate more Pacific Islander culture, and that's definitely hard here in Central Illinois, but we try our best. And so, you know, there's 3 different components to what makes this festival awesome. Food is one of them, so attendees were able to try various types of Asian cuisines, and this was really helpful that we had a lot of community organizations who participated. We had food from South Asia, such as samosa chaat, bel puri. We had food from East Asia, like scallion pancakes from Taiwan. We had a lot of Chinese desserts. We also had xiao long bao, which is a steamed bun that people were able to try, and then kimbap, which is a Korean dish. And then we also had, you know, food from Southeast Asia, like the Philippines and Malaysia and Thailand. So definitely interactive, and I couldn't forget a shout out to the local Filipino food truck, Hunger Force Mobile Kitchen, came out and parked right in our parking lot, and folks were able to try delicious Filipino food for the very first time. And so the food vendors and RSOs, fundraisers, these were just a way, again, to give back to the community organizations who are helping out plan this event, but also our student organizations. So they charge maybe $1 to $3 for all this delicious food. And a lot of people left very full and satisfied. The next part that we had was the activities, and so we have tons of kids coming out to Asia Fest, really learning about Asian American and Asian culture. We had activities like the Bollywood Zumba, which was done by Lei Shanbag, who's a local community Zumba instructor. We also had students coming and talking about their I Am experience, so being Asian American and what that meant to them. We also had Mongolian traditional script, where kids and attendees got to write their names or write a phrase in Mongolian. We also had folks coming and learning, doing Asian trivia and getting some prizes out of that. We also had a Nepalese word game, so our students from Nepal really teaching others about their language. Our carom board, which if you look in the top left corner, the little kids are playing carom board, which is a game from India, and it's very similar to pool, just without the sticks. You just kind of flick the pieces. And then we also had a photo booth, Asian traditional clothing, where folks got to kind of look at that. Our annual Boneyards art exhibit was up on display. And then we also had informational and activities tables on Laos and Sri Lanka, and then also Saudi Arabia. And then we also had 2 community members come out and really help out with our henna activities table. And so that was awesome, because those 2 community members were a part of a up-and-coming like nonprofit organization that is aimed to teaching little kids about South Asian culture through art. And so we were able to provide that honorarium from the grant, and which went back into their nonprofit organization. And then, of course, we had to have performances. We had about 2-hour performances from about maybe 15 performers, performance groups. So these included K-pop dances, Chinese traditional dances, and folk dances. We had our martial arts demonstrations from the community group Leaders for Life. We had Filipino singing, and then also Asian American fraternities and sororities dancing. So really collaborative effort between both the campus and the community. And then this year I made a little recap for you guys, so it's, you know, not just me talking. And yeah, I just wanted to say thank you to the Urbana Arts and Culture Commission, for funding our annual event. Again, it's getting bigger and bigger every year, and we couldn't have done it without all your support.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that's pretty much it then. Did anybody have any announcements that they wanted to make? Or? I actually wanted to mention I saw this morning the At Home magazine that's done by Gazette had a really nice piece on downtown Get Town. So if you haven't seen it, you should look for it. At Home, the magazine. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been featured a few places. I also was excited to see a lot of photos from the first one or maybe it was the second one in the most recent Urbana's Downtown Get Down and Smile Politely. And if you didn't know, we do have a pretty robust marketing campaign that also includes over 160 radio ads that are running on 4 different radio stations with Stevie J Broadcasting. But we were also on the News Gazette, thanks to Bridget helping organize that. And Bridget is our communications as a coordinator at the city and has done a really great amount of work to also help get the word out about the Downtown Get Down. So the next one's July 27th. We hope you'll come out.
Okay, great. I move. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You thought to say that's official. Go ahead, and then I'll ask my question.
Oh, okay. I move that we adjourn. Can I have a second? Okay. Anybody?
I can't ask.
Somebody's got to say.
Can I officially ask my question? Before. Just a point of curiosity. When we have visitors to make reports, and we had a lot of them today, I'm just wondering how locked into this agenda are we, or could your staff report perhaps be after all these other presentations? Because we already know, if we've read our materials, what you're going to tell us. I was just looking out at them, and they were getting bored, and they're sleeping, and they're looking at their cell phones, and they're like, am I ever going to get to talk? And I'm thinking, could we maybe put their agenda prior to your, with all due respect to you, but just, we... you're...
That's a good point.
That's a good point.
Just wondering, something to think about maybe for future when we have a lot of different presentations.
Certainly. That was, that's intentional. There was originally, I was behind everyone else. But one of the things that I think is valuable is our grantees who receive funding and support from us to know about our program. And I don't know that they always know all the events and things that they can do. They all are, required to attend a grants orientation, but even in that orientation, I'm not going super in depth over every project that we do. So that move was intentional, actually. You might recall that there was actually a change in which we put me first. And that was to put the arts program kind of front and center and for everyone to listen about that update.
Makes good sense.
Because in contrast, what sometimes happens, and it's very reasonable, but people come and they give their grant presentation and they leave. And then we don't feel that relationship building or that understanding of what's going on. Now that said, I knew of a couple different anxieties that were going on in the seats over here due to babysitter, due to another meeting that had to be pushed back, due to a number of things when our events when our meetings go long. So, I think there's a few solutions there. One can be making it really clear to our grantees that we expect them to be at the whole meeting, and that's a grant requirement. It's not simply giving the presentation, but attending the meeting the day that you do. Or we put me back at the end. I don't know. There's options there.
I think there's merit in what you're saying.
Yeah.
I just was curious if anybody else had a thought about it.
Well, you may have seen me go up, and that was partially a negotiation of like,
Yeah.
do you need to leave, and can this person go before you? Because I know they weren't like desperate to get out at a
Right,
certain
right,
time, whatever.
yeah.
And none of it could happen because everybody needed to leave.
Well, as you say,
Yeah, yeah.
they received a grant, so that's part of what they have to deal with.
I mean, they really don't come in front of our commission but once, right? They don't
That's
come
true.
to accept their grant
That's true.
necessarily. It's not, unless they're tier 3, they don't have to interact with our commission. So in a way, I think it's not a tall order to ask them to deal with our meeting once a year, you know?
Yeah.
But it's a good
Okay.
thing to point us to. Yep.
We're done, okay. Thank you.